it's your time to talk now, Ryan.
I was just waiting for. I was just trying to pause for dramatic effect.
Just bask in the silence.
Good morning, everyone, and I hope you've had a wonderful fishy week. And I hope you're looking forward. I hope you really enjoyed the last week's one of all the wonderful inspiration we gave you on mindfulness, and you've been practicing the practices that we gave you, practicing intentional guppies and all that sort of stuff. And someone has a really weird name who said hello. Hello, Stephen P2003 Awkward Dicks. Yep, cool. Yeah, this one actually might be a bit exciting. I could probably talk for the whole episode about all the dramas I've had this week for fish, but we may even get on topic this time. How you guys been going? Actually, we're not allowed to say how you guys going. Cam, how are you going?
Yeah, living the dream. Something happened this week to me that I thought was interesting, but then I forgot to write it down. Now I can't remember it. Come back to me when I remember.
Did you realise that?
That could be a while.
Did you realise you don't have to pedal to get power?
No, I still haven't discovered that. And looking at the way my internet connection is running, I may need to pedal a little bit faster. There you go. You've got it all in. You happy now?
You kind of did a little bit of a pausey thing there, but they're all good now.
Yeah, good. Good.
And Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So what's everyone been having going on? I've had shitloads going on, like heaps. So what have you guys got? What have you got, Matt? There you go. See, I'm listening. Dex hit me up and he's like, "Thanks for taking on the feedback," because last time I did not direct any questions at anyone, and tried the awkward pauses. So yeah.
I think each time we just need an awkward pause just for drama. What have I been up to? Not a heck of a lot. I moved about 50 OB peacocks and dragon bloods over to my 400 litre this week on the weekend. So they're just in there chilling before I figure out where they're going next. And I'll go through, figure out how many boys I've got. Looks to be quite a few, so it's exciting.
That's good because I want some.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Other than that, not a heck of a lot. More Tropheus, as you saw over on my page. But yeah, it's been a pretty quiet week, which has allowed me to catch up on some other stuff and do some maintenance and bits and pieces.
So you're saying that you're producing Tropheus better than the master breeder Ryan himself? Still,
I wouldn't want to bring him down a peg, but yes,
I do have a Tropheus story where I have acquired more of them, but not from breeding. But anyway, we'll carry on later.
I did spend Thursday waiting like a excited young boy on Christmas Day for the potential of some fish to arrive.
Yeah, I was waiting too because they were supposed to come to me.
Ryan didn't send them.
Ryan didn't send them. Have you paid for them 3 months in advance, or are you still not at that point yet?
I'm probably not the worst. No.
I thought we were talking about the wet pets delivery, the delivery of the Friary.
I'd forgotten about that actually. Yes, it was meant to have some Friary turn up for Ryan. Ordered 10. They said that they sent 10. One turned up.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I like it when they happen.
They got half of the number right.
But I guess one showing up alive is better than 10 being sent and one being alive and 9 being dead, I guess. So,
This is true. And I was impressed. I mean, they only sent one, but I was impressed to see that it was in a bag by itself. Because when stuff like that has been sent from the wholesalers before, it's in mixed bags or bags with multiple numbers, and they just get the shit beat out of each other.
Yeah, they basically just mash each other up in the bag into the corners, and it's just terrible. Yeah, not fun. Not a fun time.
Yeah, that's my story.
But yeah, I didn't send because I'm still worried about that courier thing and the cooked straight and all that stuff. So I will next week. I've got some fish to ship, but anyway.
I sent some fish up north on Monday, and it seemed to arrive on Tuesday fine. So I think there might be over for the time being.
So we might have got to the bottom of it, and it's an economy thing rather than a courier thing, right? Economy courier rather than express courier thing. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, by the look, after I reread the email, that's what it probably was. So I might have just jumped the ship to get out my pun in a little bit early.
Boom, boom, boom.
Remember,
That
Ryan
joke,
isn't going to sleep.
What's that?
What's that? What?
Huh? Who?
Don't go on about it.
Anyway, I've also been getting some phone calls and text messages from hair loss clinics this week. And I did not submit the forms or any of my information, but they have all my information. So that's been fun, and I still do not know who the perpetrator of that was. I have my suspicions.
I think it's Braxton. So Braxton, if you're listening, and if it was you, this is a hell of a good stitch up, mate, and I'm really impressed.
There's about 3 of them that are chasing me. One of them I've already spoken to, and I'm like, nah, sorry. It's a scam. The other one I've been playing phone tag with, and they're sending me text messages. And like the first one's like, hey, book your appointment. The next one's like, hey, we have a really safe, welcoming environment for you to come in and discuss your issues and how they're affecting your life and all this sort of stuff. So it's quite amusing getting these reassuring texts about going in and booking this appointment with the men's health clinic or something.
Hilarious.
The missus thought it was funny. She's like, damn, I didn't ever think of that.
Have we heard back from Auckland Glass yet? Because I tagged them in a post recently as well.
I saw that. I'm thinking we have to put an inquiry into their website because the email address I used is probably gone straight to spam, I guess, because it was a bit spammy. Okay, so that was that. Still haven't found out who that was, but we'll find out eventually. And the fishies I've been doing lots and lots of stuff with. I think I don't want to talk too much about it because this topic we could probably actually talk a little bit about. So I don't want to take up the whole time talking about shit.
As in a topic we could talk about for a whole new podcast, or some bit of time today?
What do you mean?
Well, the topic that you were just not talking about, do you think we could talk about
the
entire podcast, or just more conversation?
The actual topic for this podcast, we could actually talk about. So I don't need to flesh this out too much, even though I've got lots and lots of stuff. You know.
I'm with you.
So yeah, I spent pretty much the entire weekend in the fish room just pulling out rotten shelves, lifting tanks, leak testing tanks, and sorting all that out. Hello, fish fam. And I also did a count up of all my tanks because I built a new rack and I built some new tanks and maximized the fish room space, and I will have a total of 69 tanks when it's finished.
Nice.
Full of African cichlids. And that was not even planned. So I mean, now I can't really get any more tanks because that's it. It's done. Can't get any better than that.
Maybe your trophyists think that 69 is the way to reproduce, but they actually got it wrong. Well, they kind of stick.
Maybe. No, they're not dying.
In a weird look, Africans kind of get their vibe going on. So maybe they're doing it wrong.
Maybe you need to give them some instruction. You've got lots of kids.
I do not have lots of kids. I might have too many kids, but I don't have lots of them.
Yeah, too many. It's always too many when they're complaining and they want something, right?
Yeah. Got 3 kids with no money. Where can I have no money and 3 kids? Wait a minute, I said that wrong.
Yeah. So I found the leaking tank, and it had a crack in the bottom, a very small crack that was like just mist has been dripping constantly. So that was fun. But got it out, got it fixed, pulled all the rot timber out, redid everything, and it's maybe in 2 or 3 weeks it'll look good. when I've got everything back in and fixed. And I purchased another tank full of trophies too, so that was cool. That was yesterday's mission, picking that up.
What type of trophies are in there?
It was Firefox and Boise. The Boise have just gone into my colony. There was like 15 of them, and there was like 40 Firefox. So I have lots of trophies, and lots. But getting the tank was an absolute nightmare yesterday. Like the tank had to go where my existing trophies tank was, which was roughly the same size. So you know how it goes. You got to drain all the water out, catch all the fish, put them somewhere so they don't die, move it all out of the way. The tank was quite big. I think it's 1200 by 700 out of 12 mil glass. So, and it was only me and the missus there, so she really struggled to lift it because I also set her up with suction things and got it all off balance and stuff, and it was really bad, and she almost dropped it, and it was a nightmare, and we only managed to carry it like a little bit, and then it was like, oh my god. And then when I moved it, I realized the floor had dropped about 10 mil through where the tank was.
Are you talking about where your trophy tank is in your lounge, kitchen, dining room area?
The kitchen area, that the floor behind the tank had dropped about 10 mil. So like the floor was about 10, 15 mil below the skirting board in some places. And I was like,
I've got a supplementary question to the Parliament, please.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the issues that you had with your deck outside of your house, which is right along that same wall as the trophiest tank, is somehow related to your floor either dropping or the trophiest tank causing the deck to cause issues? Because that seems like a pretty potential correlation right there.
The deck is not attached to the foundation of the house.
Are you sure?
It's independent.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
So that result. What's that?
It's meant to be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're usually independent. And most of the deck actually hadn't sunk. It had just the top bit had just fallen apart. So yeah.
Right. Because I very, very clearly remember being there, and there were some bits of that deck that had sunken through and wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, that's because I fell through it.
I'm putting it just like the tank is falling through the floor. I'm putting two and two together here.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is all part of the theme of this house and the work that's been done on it over the years. So I will give you that. So that resulted in me spending about 3 or 4 hours under the house. And there's piles of all sorts of stuff under there, like tiles and stuff that I'm pretty sure are asbestos. That you know, like lino that people have dumped under there over the years because they don't want to dump it to the dump. So you're just lining crap. And with a bottle jack, the missus inside and me on the phone trying to talk to her and say, where do I got to jack? What do I got to do? And her not understanding fully what I'm talking about, and jacking it too much and breaking stuff. And it was just horrible. It took 3 hours, and then I had to basically jack it a little bit, come out, check it, go back under, then make packers, and yeah, it was an absolute nightmare. And this is before I've even like set off to get the new tank. So you can imagine it's like, oh my god. So that was about 1 o'clock by the time we finished all that crap. Then went and grabbed the trailer and went to get the new tank. And getting the new tank was pretty uneventful, apart from the fact I dropped the sump, which is the lightest bit, on the concrete and smashed the corner off it.
Good.
I was like,
that's not
I guess it's better than dropping the main tank, because that's a little bit harder to fix. But yeah, I dropped the sump, so I was just like, oh my god, really? So yeah, we got it all back here. Luckily, the neighbor was home from work early, so he could help me carry it all and move everything around. And then, yeah, I had to just hang the canister filters from the old tank. Luckily, I had the two of them sitting there that were already cycled on the tank. And it's kind of half empty, water trickling everywhere and pipes and shit coming out of it. But, you know, heaters sprung around the place, and it's just a nightmare. And I sold it to the missus as this one will look nicer because it's an Aquareef 400, so it's all enclosed. It's all enclosed, you've got doors, sump, all that sort of stuff. So it's nice. It's gonna be clean and tidy. Because I didn't have doors on it, so all my crap was just falling out and stuff. I want to try and keep it contained because she complains about it and stuff. But I told her this one would be nice, and then there's bloody filters hanging off and pipes everywhere and gurgling, and the tank's murky at the moment. But it was just about getting heaters and filters on so the fish didn't die.
So as a recap then for your week, you essentially just moved your leak problem from the fish room inside the house.
Oh, and it was one of those days where like everything went wrong. I pulled off after I picked up the trailer and I left the back door of my truck open, which is a swinging open door on the Prado. It jammed between the trailer and the truck and smashed the door up, like bent it. When I got back here, the canister filters, neither of them would work, and both of them were leaking like sieves. So I was pulling them apart, trying to figure out how to make them work, and water was just pouring out everywhere. And it was just like, And I woke up in the middle of the night and checked on them, and the tank was only 21 degrees. I was like, oh, far out. And
I think
realized
we've worked out why you chose violence this morning. It's not because you haven't slept for one night. It sounds like you haven't slept for about 4 nights.
Yeah, and then I realized that the heater that he'd given me with the tank wasn't even turned on. It was plugged into the Inkbird and obviously was set below the Inkbird temperature. The Inkbird was set to 26 and it was obviously set below 21. And the interesting story, he got these trophies off me years ago, and when they actually breed, of course, and they're tiny. They're like only 5 centimeters long type thing. And I was like, why are they so small? And I think I've just figured out his heater was probably only set to 20 degrees, so they probably didn't grow very well because they were a bit cold. Was my theory. Yeah, that was my theory anyway, because obviously the heater was set below 21 degrees. I had 2 heaters plugged into it, luckily, so I had two 200s plugged into it. So one 200 was going, but obviously it wasn't enough to warm it up with how cold it was last night. So it's definitely been, it's a great mindfulness week.
With how cold it was in Auckland.
That's comment of the week.
Lucky you know how to practice mindfulness. Keeping fish tanks is such a relaxing hobby. Yeah, it's been a relaxing month for me with fish. Loving it. Definitely, just everything cracking. My hands are not covered in band-aids from cutting myself on every single thing and glass, and yeah, it's fun. Good times. But the tank does look pretty cool over there. Also, I put the tank on the stand, and it's about an inch too far back for me to get any of the cords through the holes in the top of the lid.
These are all rookie mistakes you'd expect me to do, not you to do, Mr. Zen Master.
I was trying to push it up against the wall as far as I could, but it's the orientation of the tank on the stand. The tank's too far back on the stand. The stand's perfect, but the tank is sitting probably maybe 2-3 centimeters too far back. So it's sitting flush at the front, but I didn't realize it was overhanging at the back. Again, I was really tired, fucking over it. And so now I've got to drain the tank again to lift it an inch to be able to get cables through and connect the sump up. So yeah, it just keeps giving and giving and giving.
Classic.
So yeah, have you guys had that much excitement going on?
No, but I did get some new fish.
Ooh,
I just remembered.
What'd you get?
I got an order of black rams, German rams, and some starlight bristlenose.
Are those NZ bred or are they from suppliers?
All NZ bred.
Oh yeah.
The German rams are easily the nicest German rams I've ever seen in my life or had in my possession, so they're pretty exciting and pretty cool.
Then NZ bred, hopefully they're strong too.
Yeah, so far so good. And the first time I've had the black rams, which I think I never really liked, but actually the more I've looked at them, the longer I've had them, the cooler I think they are. So yeah,
I don't really like them, I think they're a bit bleh.
Neither do I. And then I've got them. I was like, oh, they're actually quite nice.
I think it's probably the environment. I've seen them in fish rooms, which haven't been like well lit and the most sort of nice environment. They're quite dark and stuff. So I guess in a dark tank, you see a darkish fish. You probably don't see all the colours on it without the lighting.
Yeah.
But they do have colour on them.
in the afternoon, the sun comes through the roller door, and they're on one of the early tanks that gets the sunlight, and they absolutely sparkle in the afternoon light. They are really, really nice fish.
Now, your NZ breed stuff, do you still quarantine that?
Yep.
Yeah, so everything gets quarantined.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. And your quarantine is 3 weeks, is it?
2 weeks is a minimum. Longer if needs be.
So you just look at 2 weeks, and you're just looking for like minimal losses or no losses, and like eating, looking good, appearing healthy.
Behavior-wise, anything out of the ordinary. It's quite obvious in the first couple of days if something's not quite right. And saying that, mollies for some reason tend to suck the later on they get in through the quarantine.
And that'll be salt. That'll be salt related, I reckon.
Yeah, I've tried that, and I still can't. I just can't crack mollies. And about the 10-day mark is when a lot of stuff hits the fan as well. If it's going to happen, that's when it happens. So, yeah,
that's interesting. Wonder if it's a stress thing. I don't know.
It's
hey, Vishal, we also need to give a big shout out to Vishal, who's going to buy my tank. He needs to put some pressure on his missus, who said no. So he needs to man up, Vishal. Buy my tank that I just pulled out of my kitchen. Come on.
But just remember, Vishal, don't pay him because you won't get it for about 5 months afterwards.
Payment
he needs to pick it up. No, he needs to pick it up. Also, when I bought this tank, I said to my mate, because I knew the guy that was selling it, and I said to Matt, I said, "Oh, I'm going to buy that tank, but I've got to talk to the missus first."
What did I tell you though? What did I tell you as your approach?
Forgiveness is better than permission, and if it wasn't school holidays, and she wasn't at home, well, although knowing how hard it was and how much a mission it was, she would have come home to this absolute disaster zone, and it wouldn't have got away with it. But I reckon I could have almost got away with pulling it out, putting it in, and then she would have been like, "You do something with your tank," and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I cleaned it." She'll be like, "Oh, okay, looks good," you know.
I've got two things that have come up then. One, you would not imagine how often I say to my customers it's easier to ask for forgiveness than what it is permission when you're thinking about buying a new fish. That is a very, very common thing I say to people when they're looking at fish. The other things, the amount of double entendres that you've said this morning that we've just let go straight to the keeper is ridiculous. The entire story has literally been one double entendre to another. I salute you.
Cool. Well, there you go.
Well,
so yeah, Vishal, no pressure. Yeah, hurry up, come get my tank. Just tell your missus, put your foot down. There you go. I hope I didn't say that too loud and Kim didn't hear me.
Next thing, Ryan just gets dragged off the camera.
Yeah, and beaten. Yeah. So yeah, I think I could go on and on about all the dramas that I've had going on, but that's it for me for now. What do you guys reckon? You've all been through your stuff. Now we should probably get on to the topic. Oh no, we've got to do random question. Random
question and listener mail and something else.
Random question generator. Hang on.
Oh, you really are unprepared.
I usually do it on my phone, but I okay, this one's a good one.
Oh no.
What recent experience made you feel old?
Oh. What recent experience made me feel old? I don't know. Maybe throwing my shoulder out, my back out in the same 2 days. Is that old enough?
Yeah, without actually doing anything. You didn't do anything, did you?
No, I woke
you
up.
Didn't lift anything heavy. You didn't lift anything heavy. You didn't do anything extreme. And then
I woke up. I slept on it wrong, and I woke up with a sore shoulder. And as the shoulder began to get better, the back got worse. So, yeah, good times.
But when we're talking about a sore shoulder, we're not just talking like, "Oh, my shoulder hurts." Hey, like you literally couldn't move it. Like he was in agony. He couldn't write.
I couldn't get past about that. There was no chance of writing. It was for 2 or 3 days. I was literally like this, just going, "Please, just leave me alone. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do anything." And I was using like T-Rex arms to use a knife and fork. It was absolutely awful.
You still managed to lift the FX6 though, didn't you?
Yeah, that was afterwards. That was just proving that I was recovering. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
definitely managed to do that afterwards.
Most people can use a FX6, lift an FX6 though. You know, like you have to be pretty weakling to not be able to lift an FX6.
And like one of the joys about the FX6 is that even if you
don't have
can't
to lift it.
It's got that awesome little attachment at the bottom that you can drain it before you have to lift it, so you can make it even lighter if you need to.
Did yours get going? You had an issue with them breaking, didn't you, or stopping or something?
Oh yeah, the impeller on one of them went to shit, so I've got that ordered. I'm hoping it arrives today or tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it's funny.
It's still going. It's still going. It's just really, really low flow. There's still filtration going on, so there's not an issue with any of the bio loads or anything like that. It's just not working in the way that it's meant to work.
And you theorise that it's the impeller, not the motor.
Yeah, so I was speaking to the rep, and I basically explained what it was, and he said that 99% of the time it's the impeller that's not right. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I had the other one, I swapped it all over, and the other one swapped the impeller over, and it did that in the unit that was going fine. So we theorised it was the impeller, not the motor.
They're quite spendy, eh? Those things. I remember when I first bought my first FX5, the first time I cleaned it, I stuck the bloody impeller and the ceramic shaft on the table.
Yeah,
it fell off, broke the shaft. Can't buy the shaft individually. Had to buy the impeller as well. And it was so expensive. I mean, obviously, I was paying retail. You're probably paying wholesale, but still, the fluval parts are not cheap.
Even at wholesale, I was like, yeah, what? You want me to pay that much for that? So,
yeah. I think I paid $190 or something for the impeller and the shaft or something stupid like that.
Yeah. I can assure you that the wholesale price is not much cheaper than that.
Yeah. So, and that was a long time ago, but but they are good filters. Funny enough, you've had yours playing up, and another mate of mine up north had his playing up as well. He's messaging me going, bloody FX5, FX6,
right.
But I think it might be an age-related thing. They do a lot of hours, a lot of work.
And they because they turn themselves on and off again, unlike the other filters, that probably puts a little bit of wear on them as well. Unlike the other canisters that run 24/7.
Yeah.
Whether it's engineered that way or not, I don't know. But that we feature probably does play a little part in the impeller wear.
It's a really interesting invention that may have changed the aquarium industry right there.
What, an impeller?
That stops and starts to let air out and purges itself.
Also starts itself as well. You just fill it up and plug it in. It does everything for you.
Yeah, because the motor's at the bottom of the filter, not the top. It's quite smart.
It is. But it's okay. We can shit on Fluval because there's no real reason to, other than Cameron didn't like them.
Yeah. And he's not here, so we can shit on him and him. Perfect crime.
Just because he can't lift them. Anyway, we digress.
Okay, so what makes me... The biggest thing recently that's made me feel old is I can't drive the Swift with the Recaros in it because it's too hard and it hurts my back, and I had to buy cushions for it. And then I posted on the Swift group anonymously. It's a great feature of Facebook, and said, "Oh man, I drive in the Swift and the Recaros hurt my back," and then everyone was just laughing at me and saying that I needed to do more deadlifts and spend some more time in the gym and stuff. And I'm like, why? Why would I have to go to the gym to drive a Suzuki Swift? Like, come on, guys, you know what I mean? It's just a Swift. It's not a Formula One. Come on.
You've got to be a top athlete to drive those.
Yeah, it's peak physical and mental condition, you know?
I figured out you've got to go to the gym to do more deadlifts, which means you can get more groceries into the back of the Swift, because if you can stuff more into the bag, they become heavier. Then you can carry more from the car to inside. That's why.
Yeah, so that made me feel old. I still drive it, and I do a little cushion that I put in there that I get much hassling from the missus that I put behind my back. But yeah, that's what's made me feel old recently. What about you, Matt?
I was just quickly, while you were saying that, you said anonymous posting on Facebook was your favorite feature. I think it'll be brilliant that if everybody in this watching the stream right now jumped on Facebook, posted anonymously about how awesome the podcast is, and let's just take over Facebook with awesome anonymous posts about the podcast. That also made me feel quite old.
All three listeners.
Yep. Hey, 6. We're better than that.
So what's made me
you
feel,
could talk about what you messaged me about the other day. That was quite funny. I don't know if you want to talk
No.
about that. It was a little bit embarrassing for you, but no,
Straight
you
up
don't
the
want
middle.
to.
we're not talking about that. No. I don't know what
feel
makes
like
me
we
feel
need
it. I mean, I'm half of Ryan's age to begin with, so there's not a lot that can make me feel old. No.
Are you 30?
I am 30. Yes. Yeah. But actually, Ryan's throwing me off.
Woo! Oh, no way. You've got to talk about that. You've got to talk about that.
No.
You can't leave this to just us.
I do think it could be something that we could use the podcast for to help him with.
Yeah.
Maybe we could run a competition.
Yeah. I'm into this.
A raffle.
But anyway, keeping on track, boys. Jeez. I went for a haircut last week, and the barber decided that the best thing to do for repeat business is to explain how in 6 months I've lost more and more hair, and it's at a rapid rate, and then proceeded to take photos of it to show me how bad it is at the back before telling me that they can cover it up. So, Ryan, those contact numbers, I might need them.
Are you gonna try that spray on stuff that makes it look like it's thicker than it really is?
No, I don't.
No?
Yeah, I didn't actually know that it was happening. I mean, it's all the way at the back. I have actually had they call it SMP, scalp micropigmentation, a couple of times because I'm reckless and cut my head open doing stupid stuff. And had scars, so I've had them like tattooed over time, but I don't think that'll work for this one.
You could just tattoo your whole head, tattoo hair onto your head.
I actually know some people that could help with that. Some old clients.
prison tats. Anyway, cool. All right. So I feel old every time I go to the barbers too, because when I look down at the thing they put on you, there's even less and less hair on it. You know, they chop it off your head. It's thinner and thinner and thinner.
Why
They
do
go
you
like,
bother going to the barber?
Yeah.
Why do you even
get the
bother?
beard trim. Get the beard trim.
Just get your beard trimmer out and do it yourself.
I thought you'd only need to sneeze and it would all just come out.
Pretty much does. Yeah. It's a good thing I've got some very persistent marketing people trying to get in touch with me to help with my problems in a discreet place.
Maybe try and work out a brand deal for us. Could be some good marketing opportunity for them.
Well, 2 out of 3 of us need it, so we can be spokesmen for it with our following. You know, we might be able to push it out to 3 people.
Next step, Ferrari.
Yeah. Anyway, and have we got a listener mail? Have anyone had anything come in?
Well, you're the one that checks it.
I haven't checked it actually, but I just assume we don't have anything. So, because no one emails podcast@3idiots.com.
Has Dex given us any more keys for success over the last week?
What's that?
Has Dex given us any more keys for success over the last week?
No, he has not. He just messaged me and said it's good to hear you took on my feedback.
So that is listener mail done then?
Yeah, that's listener mail done.
On his feedback?
I'm going to have to generate some. I think maybe I need to send that email into about the aquatic expo they're going to do about how we can feature it if they'd like, and we might negotiate our appearance fee for them.
Do it. We'll get there. And we'll have all of our 4 listeners come and talk to us.
So what inventions have changed the aquarium industry? How are we going to do this? Are we just going to bounce around and say what cool shit we like, or
are we going for just stuff that we like and is helpful to us, or things that have changed the aquarium industry?
God, I love how unprepared we are.
I thought about messaging this last night, but then I got distracted. So,
well, I'm just going to start. I think ink birds are cool. I like them. They
But have they changed? Have they really changed the aquarium industry? They're cool,
Well, I think
you can run a tropical aquarium without them. So have they really changed the industry?
I think you could probably say that the technical advances in heaters have changed the industry because heaters in general, right? They are getting better. They're also getting cheaper. They're also getting cheaper.
Arguably, they're not getting better because they fail more than what they used to. Older heaters seem to fail less than what the newer heaters seem to fail. So arguably, they may not be getting better. There's just more features coming onto some of them.
Well, some of them are better, and I guess they're getting cheaper, and some of them are getting worse. It's probably the problem as well. Like don't ever use a Jabo heater. They are the worst heaters in the absolute world. Don't use them. Like I had probably 15 of them running in a fish room once, and all it was a constant stream of me returning one every 2 weeks that had stuck on and cooked a tank of fish. I was just straight back, and in the end, I just smashed them all with a hammer and chucked them in the bin because they were just rubbish. They literally were rubbish. So a lot of shops don't even. Well, you do stock them. I know that Camden wouldn't stock them because they were rubbish. They were like, you just say to people, if you want to be cheap, buy Aqua One because it's the best cheap one you can buy.
I put a post on my Facebook page about the Jabo heaters, and I was throwing them in the bin because that's where they deserve to be, sort of scenario. And the rep had a go at me when he came in that next time he visited, saying there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. Why would you do that? Blah, 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 blah. I was like, well, because they are shite. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, you probably could use one with an Inkbird because it doesn't matter if it sticks on because the Inkbird does the controlling. But you're just using it as a heating element, a cheap heating element then. But yeah, still, I found the glass was very, very crap on them too and broke very easily as well. Like if you bump them, I think it's just very cheap manufacturing in general. So yeah, I would say if you want to be cheap, buy Aqua One.
I have a question.
Yes, a question from the floor.
Because Ryan is from prehistoric
1970s.
dinosaur times, can Ryan tell us what the first aquarium heaters were? I did actually do some research, and I came with some questions to pop quiz you guys.
Oh yeah, it was a candle underneath the tank, I believe. They used to literally light a candle under the tank. And
no, the actual first heater. The first heater.
The first heater.
Yeah,
like plug in the wall heater.
Just how they used to be heated, not with an actual heater, not shoving a candle underneath. So they were brass. They were brass cylinders beforehand.
Oh, like a hot water cylinder type thing.
Yeah.
Hey! People aren't here to learn. People are here to hear us talk shit. We're not here to learn. Yeah. Just give Ryan shit. Continue. Okay. No, continue. It's okay. Continue.
No.
I do remember when I first started out that we had these heaters that were like a heating element and a wire that went to a separate thermostat that you adjusted. They were separate. And I also remember having ones that couldn't be submerged. Like literally they had a water line on them. And you had to put them out of the water because they weren't waterproof enough to go under the water. And if they did, they filled up with water and blew up. So that's how crappy they used to be.
So I actually came across one of those maybe a month or two back at a trading centre around here. That's what made me start looking it up back then. Crazy looking things.
Yeah. So
now I want to know about this new heater. Now I feel bad that I stopped doing your story. Can you please continue?
No.
Oh, I'm going to be hanging out until I get on Google and work it out myself now.
It's just a quick Google of the is it Jaeger?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, there you go. Then we talked about heating. What about filtration? What do you guys reckon about filtration? I mean, obviously we know that FX5s are heavy, so that makes them the worst filter in the world. We know that. It's a fact in life, So, but when I started out, we were using under gravel filters. And you had these plates and you put an air bubbler on it and you had to have the fruit salad gravel and you basically your gravel turned into your biomedia and did all your filtration for you. And if you're super fancy, you put a reverse flow in and it flowed out through the filter, went the other way, sucked it through the tube and blew it out through the gravel rather than sucking it through the gravel. So, what do you guys reckon? Is that better or worse than what we've got today? Nothing. Yeah.
I'm a little bit lost in the question.
The question is,
I was trying to follow the chat that Thomas is talking about, so I wasn't really listening to you.
I don't even know what.
Same here. I was scrolling back to see what Thomas is talking about.
Yeah, I think you might have deleted it, or at least it's disappeared.
I think Tom was saying that he had 3 Jabos running because he likes danger.
Other Thomas.
Ah.
The one that you sent the fish on like 25-day courier.
And I've got his food sitting there.
Yeah. Oh, you still haven't seen that either?
Nah, just hoarding it. I don't quite have enough Apache. Also, I bought more Apache the other day, and I got in trouble. But anyway, that's a different story.
Why'd you buy more? You got like 500 kilos of it.
Yeah, I reached out, and there was some more available, so I bought some more.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Anyway, and I got in trouble for that one. What the hell are you doing buying more fish food? You've just bought all this other stuff. So you've got to feed the fish. She's like, but you've got 3 months worth. It's not enough.
Now,
why does your missus sound like she's 90?
But at the end of the day, she does say you can get whatever you like as long as you can store it in your areas. So I stash it in her places.
Do you have like a taped corner from one side to the other, and that you can't encroach any more space?
Well, no, obviously I'm allowed personal items in the house and some fish items within the fish tanks in the house. And then I have a large cedar shed, a double garage, and a shipping container. So I think I have a bit of storage.
If you were smart enough, you could drain your pool that never gets used, put the cover over the pool, and you'd have another bit of storage area.
Yeah, and also I do have a storage unit as well with a car in it. So anyway, I do have a bit of storage, to be fair. She's not been unreasonable, I don't think. But yeah. Anyway, so we were talking filtration, and I was saying, who remembers under gravel filters? They are amazing.
I've never used one. I've got more than one customer that to this day still uses them and absolutely loves them, but I've personally never used one.
Really?
Yeah. I understand the concept.
I had one on my first tank, but I couldn't tell you.
The problem with them is you can't use sand, and you can't have them in tanks with fish that dig. So it does isolate a lot of the stuff that I like to keep, pretty much, from not being that practical. So yeah, and now we've got filters that are anything you can imagine, right? So basically, you can spend $5 to probably $5,000 building a top of the line sump if you wanted to.
I was watching a video on YouTube the other day. Bentley Pascoe did it, and he was showing off a hang-on canister filter, which I thought looked absolutely fantastic. But they apparently are not around anymore.
Oh, really? A hang-on canister filter?
Hang-on canister. So the canister just hung over top with the 2 pipes going in and out. Just
basically
like
a hang on the back, but it doesn't actually have an open compartment. It's sealed up.
Yeah. I thought that looked genius, and like gives you the extra filtration capabilities, and everything would be really easy to work with because it's right there. Cam wouldn't have to lift it up; he'd just have to hold it. So, weight issues isn't really there either.
My biggest concern would be the weight of the filter on the side of the tank, because obviously they're not designed to have things hung on them really and have a sideways deflection. I mean, it's probably just insignificant. I mean, I've stuck lots of heavy stuff on top of tanks and they've never broken, but I'm just wondering about that. And Jason said he's seen them on Temu, so there you go. Probably $12 free shipping.
Looks like I'm off to Temu for the first time ever.
I got sucked down the moving K1 bed in the sump rabbit hole last night, and was gonna go order some K1 off Temu as well. So there you go.
Is that why you sent me 10 invites of accept my free gift?
No, that's not me. I don't do that. Bugger that. I just pay for it. It's cheap enough. But yeah, it's an interesting one too. All the filtration, the technology around filtration, the marketing around filtration. It's hard to know what you actually need and what you don't need. And
Ryan, before you go any
money.
further, I'm just going to ask you, please take off your tinfoil hat before you continue with what you want to talk about.
I think a lot of it is marketing and a lot of it's rubbish. But in the aquaponics industry, they use moving media, basically, like moving K1 and shit like that. So there's a reason for that. That is the most effective, basically. But yeah.
I thought sand filtration was pretty effective too.
Sand is pretty good too, yeah. But you got to get it moving, I think, and that's quite hard. But yeah.
I thought the sand had to stay still, and it sort of trickled through it, almost like a natural filter like they use on ponds.
I can tell you not to use used pool filter sand in your tank. It does not work. But yeah, new filter sand might work. There's probably no reason why a pool filter sand filter wouldn't work. Obviously, if you didn't have chlorine and stuff running through it at any stage, needing to leach into the tank on a pond, maybe, don't know. But what do you guys? So what would you? I mean, obviously we've talked about the FX5, FX6, how it's actually a little bit smarter because it has a motor at the bottom, so it self purges and then has a little timer and stuff. A lot of filters have UVs in them. I mean, interesting. I don't know. Is it needed? Is it not needed? Does it do anything? I'm not sure.
Again, just take off your tinfoil hat.
Well, no, I'm just saying because a lot of the research I've done leads me to believe that the UV needs to have water going past it very, very slowly to be effective. And canister filters usually have quite a high flow. So is it actually going to be effective, or is it just a marketing ploy? And do people change the bulbs often enough to keep them effective? I don't know. It's interesting to see some.
I think that's probably the biggest thing is people knowing that they do need to change the bulbs.
Yeah. I find UV very effective. As long as the water is passing through the UV, it seems effective. I might have just got lucky with the pumps that I'm using to the UV lights that I'm using, but it seems to work pretty well.
So when you say work, what are you noticing, and how are you quantifying that? Are you less algae in the tanks, healthier fish, or
quantifying it with my eyes? So yeah, I haven't had a green water outbreak in my tanks that I've got the UV lights on them. I haven't, or very seldomly have I seen one variety of algae go from one tank to another. So obviously if it gets sucked into the filter and then goes through the UV, it destroys it. And on the off occasion where I've had things like white spot running through the system, it doesn't leave one rack to the other one because I've got two pumps, two UV lights, two racks running separately. So that's how I quantify that it works, at least for me in my setup, the way it's working.
And what would you say to the discussion that if you run a UV, you're wiping out the good and the bad stuff? Would you say that potentially you're running your fish in too clean an environment? So when they get to a normal aquarium with those bacteria and stuff that haven't been wiped out, good and bad, they can be more susceptible to stuff. Again, I don't know the answer.
Without becoming scientific daddy, I would disagree with that, and I don't think that is the case. At least, again, in my situation, it's 18 tanks being run over 2 UV filters, 2 pumps, and that kind of stuff. So I would not believe that to be true. Potentially, if it's one UV on one tank, possibly.
But I guess like someone's just said in the comments, the good stuff's in the water column. Assuming the good stuff's in the water column, you're going to have all those bacteria in the tank, in the gravel, on the glass,
Correct.
cruising around everywhere else, and you're not going to kill them all. You're just going to kill some waterborne stuff, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And probably not all of it.
Arguably, I'm also running an excessive amount of biological filter media in there as well. But countering that, there's probably an excessively large amount of fish that are running through the system as well. So all that bio media is going to be helping that come through it as well, or work through it as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I find UV lights interesting. I don't have any running on any of my tanks. There's one running on Kim's tank in her office, and I haven't noticed anything on that's better or worse than any of my tanks. The big tank that I redid for the real estate office has a large pond one UV on it. I got that going. It didn't have a bulb in it, but it was running. It just had no bulb in it, so I don't know why it was there. But anyway, but I did clean out the filter at the same time, so the water's crystal clear. But it probably was because the filter had never been cleaned and the gravel had never been vacuumed. So it could have been, or it could be a combination. So it'll be interesting to know how effective they actually are at doing anything.
Yeah,
I know a lot of the guys that run big hire tanks run the pond one ones, the biggest one they can on every single tank, and swear by them and change the bulbs every 6 to 12 months. I reckon it keeps down bugs and stuff. But yeah, interesting. It's interesting. Again, using a UV on a fish tank is pretty cool. Something different.
Speaking of filter add-ons, I think the pre-filters are a massive thing on some of the filters, as well as inbuilt heater capacity. The particularly inbuilt heater capacity gives you that sump feeling without a sump, which is nice.
It's the same with inline heaters. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, inline heating.
I put an inline heater on the tank I redid in the real estate office too, just to get the heaters out of the tank. I did run an Inkbird because I got a Sun one. I cheaped out a little bit on the heater, so I thought for $110 I can get a Sun and an Inkbird, or for $250 I can get a real flash inline. So I thought, well, 110, you're getting the flash one with a decent temperature controller. The only difference is you got to have probes in the tank, obviously, for the Inkbird, but that seems to be working quite well, and they love the heaters not being in the tanks, so that was cool.
Yeah, I think those 2 or 3 things I think are pretty massive. Have you used any canisters with pre-filters on it?
I have it. Cam used to swear by those Sarah pre-filters. It was basically another canister that it went through first.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and you just service that rather than servicing your main canister. You could have that just full of bio.
Yeah, I've been using the Oase ones, which I think are fantastic. Other than the issues that the Oase canisters have for that generation, the actual pre-filters on them are brilliant. Like I was having on my small tank.
Is this a canister filter that comes with the pre-filter, or do you buy it as well as?
Comes with the pre-filter, and also has a wee slot that you put your heater in. So it's pretty. So it's fancy.
It's two canister for two separate items that come. Or is the pre-filter built into the canister somehow that it's separate as a separate entity, slots out or something?
It's one canister, and you just take the top of it off, and it's a little unit that the water trickle goes through before it hits the canister.
So before it hits the biomedia, so it's part of it, but it has a separate pre-filter within it.
Yeah.
Rather than just having your fine mesh and then your other ones and whatever through your filter.
Oh, you still fill it up with all that kind of stuff, and it's got all the sponges around the outsides and that kind of stuff. But it goes through this unit first.
Oasis, they went under, didn't they, in New Zealand? They basically weren't economically viable and left, didn't they?
No, they're still here. Okay. I was supposed to have issues with the exporter, importer, wherever they are, and I'm still waiting for an email back from 18 months ago. So that's why I stopped dealing with them. I think Aquarays, I think, carry them now.
Oh yeah. So they're still coming into the country. Yeah.
Still here.
Geek Boy does bring up an interesting point with the heaters too, as she was saying that if the canister filter stops for whatever reason and the heater's still going, it nukes stuff. The heater keeps going and cooks everything. Although the heater should turn off. I guess it's flow based, isn't it, to sense the temperature. So there might be an issue there because they're jammed in quite tight and they don't have any flow past them. They can't sense the temperature properly. The inline one's turned off when there's no flow. so they're all right. But yeah, they're an internal a heater inside a filter.
I never considered that as a thing.
I would have thought
The thermostat would flick off, and
the thermostat would flick off, but it would. But if it's in a very it would depend where it's sensing the water from. But you'd think the whole thing would get hot and it would turn off without cooking anything.
This little enclosed bit where the heater is at temperature, so it's going to turn off now and stay off until it gets cool again. Would have thought.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think, just off topic to filters and heaters, that plastic bags have been a pretty big game changer when it comes to fish keeping. As lame as you possibly think it is, without them, I think we don't keep fish still, or at least it's pretty hard to move them around.
Do we think that we're going to see a movement towards no plastic bags and fish and people using paper bags?
Bring your recyclable bag.
Do you reckon we'll use paper bags to carry fish because they're recyclable?
Yeah, it's almost like how paper doesn't really enjoy fire. I don't think paper really enjoys water much either.
You'd have that problem where you leave the McDonald's cup in your car for a night and you come out and the bottom's soaked through and it's gone everywhere. We are running short on time though, so I do think we need to touch on at least lighting or some other bits that we like.
I thought Cam was going to mention stability being a great invention.
It's a no word.
It's a no word for you.
Yeah. So lighting. I must confess I don't know an awful lot about the spectrums and the best one for planting and marines and all that sort of stuff. But I know a bit of the electrical side of it.
Engineer. If anybody on this podcast is qualified to talk about lighting, it's you, because you're an electrical engineer.
I can talk about the electrical side of it, but I can't talk about the spectrum and I don't know for sure about what spectrum a marine coral needs or a plant needs. That's planty, geeky, marine stuff. But
I thought you were the master plant grower.
The technology and the LEDs is just brilliant. You can get whatever colors you want. You can manipulate whatever color you want. You can do sunset and sunrise, and you can do night times, and you can do. And I can do all that with $160 4-foot one I bought off AliExpress, or you can spend $2 or $3 grand on something that's real fancy. So yeah, and they're cheap. They don't make much. They don't produce much heat. They're waterproof. Brilliant. LEDs are awesome.
The not producing much heat frustrates me a little bit, because I'm trying to work out a way of making my own biltong, and I wanted to use aquarium lights, but they don't produce enough heat to do it. So that's a little bit off topic, but yeah.
But you can just go to Mitre 10 or whatever, and I don't know if you can still buy them, but buy those incandescent bulbs that are like 50 cents each and use that.
That would involve me researching and not just trying to scrounge around what I've got already.
I'll send you an option. Oh,
I like options.
Yeah. Again, I've been down there making my own biltong and jerky road too, but I've decided I had too many hobbies and didn't do it because I just don't have enough room for more stuff. But anyway, I would love to do it.
It's $6 a bag every day. I should probably begin to find a cheaper option.
Yeah. And worst case scenario, you just get the bum wheeze and you lose some weight. You don't get it right.
That's one. I've just started making my own yogurt / cheese, and that's what I'm a little bit worried about too. We'll see how we go.
So it's just a purge. It's all good.
Nothing wrong with self-made food poisoning.
Just try the first lot like 10 minutes before a podcast, and then we'll all know how it goes.
And I also like the LED lights, how slim they are. Like if you don't have much room, you can just slot one into a tank. It's pretty cool.
I do like that. The profile of them
compared to the old tubes that were so massive, and you're trying to carry this big thing around and jam it in there, and
those Aqua One T8 tubes. I think they were called the Big Boy range. I thought they looked pretty cool.
They were good for their time.
Maybe that's me showing my age, but yeah, I thought they looked pretty cool.
It's certainly better than those big massive halides and stuff that we used to have on planted tanks. These big massive things that they used to use in warehouses, and you know.
But man, did they grow plants?
Oh, they grow plants, they grow corals, but shit, they're like
and they
500
keep
watts
your
each or
room
something, and
incredibly warm.
they're
Yeah.
almost so hot they're dangerous. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I bought
Yeah,
a
they're
whole
great.
bunch one today. Was that?
I was just going to say, I actually use the Flexi LED. Like you buy big coils of it. And so in my fish room, I just had it looped backwards and forwards across all the racks.
That's what I've done in mine. Yeah, I've got about 130 meters of it through my fish room.
Yeah. So it's super handy, like the LED strip, being able to have one main line or two main lines to run a whole room.
I don't feel that I'm qualified enough to play with that, so I'm just using no lights whatsoever. Now I feel a little bit incompetent and a little bit like you guys are better than me.
But we are.
All right. Well, good. So the feeling is correct.
Get some trophies, and then you'll be better than Ryan. So
I've got some. So anyway, what do you guys? I mean, obviously, if you're a plant guy, you can buy a fancy light and you can change all your spectrums and you can get as technical as you want. And if you're a marine guy, you can do the same and you can make cool stuff happen. If you want to make your fish more blue, you can put more blues in, you can put reds in, you can do whatever. I think it's cool. Do it all off your phone. Love it. I don't know if it's really changed the industry, but it's definitely made it cooler and made plants and stuff easy to grow.
Arguably, it's made the big companies more money because they're freaking expensive. And of all things for you to be celebrating, I would have thought you would have taken that tinfoil hat off, put that tinfoil hat back on, and gone on about how it's just marketing.
Well, it is marketing, but it's all good. They're good at it, and they got good products, so it's okay. They like to sell it.
So you're okay. So you're okay with this marketing, but not okay with other marketing that the same company does because you're not okay with it.
Because it doesn't work. But anyway, let's carry on. And you can also buy cheap ones if you want to. There are cheap ones around. Whether they're as good, I don't know. Haven't used them all, but the cheap ones I bought are fine. They're all good. Even Echo One does cheap LED lights that are reasonable.
But they're awful.
The new range are awful.
Yeah.
The skinny ones are good.
No, they're awful.
Skinny long ones are all good. I got them.
I'll rephrase that. I think the light that comes out of them is really nice. I think the look of them is awful. The feel of them is awful, and the setup of them is awful, and the price that you have to pay for them is awful. So what you get, I don't think is worth it. But the light themselves, I think produces a really nice looking light.
Okay, well you don't like it, that's right.
My theory, and I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on now, is they've just gone to AliExpress, got a whole bunch of lights, and then made a box and put them in there. That's the feeling that it is.
That is what a lot of it is. That is a lot of it is, though. A lot of them come out of the same factories and just get branded differently, and that's okay. It's just business, right? But just got to figure out when you've been. It's hard to figure out when you've been done or not, and who's going to support it. Basically, if you buy it off AliExpress, you're not going to get any support. So that's the problem. If you buy it off Cam, he's going to look after you and sort it out. So yeah, pay a little bit extra and get looked after. So yeah, is there anything? I feel like there's. Dare I bring it up? I don't know if I bring it up now. I don't want to.
Do it.
I was gonna say, do we think that magical elixirs and chemicals and products have changed the industry in enough that it's actually done anything?
Well,
what do you think? Apart from making retailers, rather than making retailers lots of money.
Please explain that a little bit more. Go a little bit deeper. Dive a little bit more. Prod a little bit more. What are you talking about here?
If you want to, you can go out. A lot of them are like Asian products and stuff. But if your tank's dirty, you can buy an elixir. You can pour in and it'll make the water clear. Or you can buy dirt ones that are supposed to substitute. You're supposed to dose it every day and not do water changes. And you can buy chemicals to do pretty much whatever you want to, like a pill to put in there and fix the problem. And whether they work or not, don't know. I haven't tested them all, but do we think those are advances? Obviously, there is some stuff that's going to work and is going to be cool and useful, but don't know. What do you guys reckon?
I think it swings both ways in that there's some really good products out there that anyone can buy off the shelf and they won't really do too much harm, or they'll do more good than harm. But then there's also products that should be researched, should be with more experienced fish keepers before just letting anyone buy them.
That is a very diplomatic answer. That is impressive.
Also, that you have to realise
It's
that
past 8. I'm like starting to wake up.
if the thing is with it, if there's a problem and people can and a manufacturer can produce something that will fix it, enough of a problem, they'll make it. I'll make it. Whether it works or not is a different story, or whether people use it in accordance with the instructions, like Matt says. Like Vishal's got a good example there. I've helped him before. He had a tank and he said, all my fish are dying. I'm going to give up and get rid of my tank. I said, well, what's going on? He said, oh, it went cloudy. So I added some of this clarity stuff. And then something else happened. So I added some of this other stuff. And then something else happened. Then I added some of this other stuff. And I was like, oh, why did it go cloudy? Oh, one of my filters died. And I was like, okay. So if you tested your water, what have you got another filter? And he's like, oh, no. And I was like, well, your tank's probably crashed. That's probably why it went cloudy. And then you added this other stuff and your fish was stressed. And it's just a whole, so
It all just
So there's two. There's
yes,
two,
you could have bought a
two
chemical to fix the
key
cloudiness, but
two key words that have come out of that. You said probably. So again, you're working on maybe this, it may not be, and potentially using said product that was used. I have no idea what they were incorrectly, or because you're guessing that is probably this. I guesstimate that a vast majority of the products that are in bottles work as per instructions, as per what it is that the company has developed to work for, and it is user error that causes the issue on the vast majority of, well, it says about this much, so I'll just put this much in, or I've misdiagnosed what it is, or I've tried this product and this product together and they counteract each other because we don't know how the chemicals work, and all of that sort of scenario. As
also, do many people actually know how many liters of water are in their aquarium? Like, that's probably the first question to ask, and most people don't. I don't even know how many liters are in that of water. Like, I can measure it, but am I taking the thickness of the glass out? Am I taking the substrate out? Am I taking the biomedia out?
The fish, even the fish take it. Like,
like it could be something as simple as that. So I don't know. A lot of them, I don't believe, have a lot of uses, but it's interesting. And I think a lot of it, like I think you interviewed Dr. Bassler, and he was saying that everything in the bottle probably works, otherwise it wouldn't be for sale, but it will only work for what accurate diagnosis. Accurate diagnosis is the first thing, and then using it properly is the second thing. And most people skip the accurate diagnosis and using it properly. They just want a magic pill.
pH range of 7 to 7.7. Out of that range, it doesn't work. The vast majority of people keep, like, there's lots that kind of go with that scenario of whether things work or whether things don't work. Your definition of adequate aeration to it is different to another one's. Like, there's lots that go into that sort of thing.
I think a lot of it as well, and I've seen a lot of it recently actually, is around people chasing the number. So they have an idea, or someone has an idea, gives advice, you should be aiming for X, Y, Z, and then suddenly they start trying to chase that, and so then their tank starts going up and down, up and down. It's and that causes more harm than good, I find, as well, is trying to use these products to chase a ideal number.
And then you start off your tanks cloudy. You put some stuff in to make it not cloudy, without trying to understand why it was cloudy, or just leaving it a while to see if it settles. And then you get some algae, so you stick some stuff in to kill the algae, and then it goes cloudy again. So sometimes you can go around in circles, and then your pH is 7.6, but it says it should be 7.5 for these fish. So you put some of this stuff in, and you put some of that stuff in, and then your fish start bloody carking it because they're in some sort of concoction of God knows what. When you probably should have just left it alone to start with. So it's an interesting one. But I just do think there's a lot of stuff. I guess the problem in New Zealand is we can't get a lot of medications either, which sucks.
Mm.
But again, with that accurate diagnosis, the medications are useless anyway. So, is there any other technology? What about like in aquariums? Like when I started out, you couldn't get aquariums that looked like the one behind me. They were just a glass tank on a stand, usually homemade.
Probably made with putty, as Helen mentioned earlier.
Putty, and I even had one with bloody metal trim around it and stuff, that weighed like a ton. Two people had to carry a bloody 3-foot tank, it was massive, heavy. But
Rebecca's made a good point that fish food is a technology, and that's definitely improved over the years.
Yeah, definitely fish food. I was going to mention that. Yeah, I used to go to the supermarket and just buy whatever. This is the cheapest stuff I could find because it was for the fish, And then when you start looking at it, you're like, oh, So food, the availability of food. Again, a lot of that is marketing too. When you actually read what's in it, not so great, just in a shiny packet with some pictures of fish on the front of it. But at least you can get, if you've got a fish that eats bugs, you can get a food that's got bugs in it. You know what I mean? Like so extreme food, eh?
Yeah. Ooh. That right there is a proper case of marketing and big influencer doing a role.
I've used a bit of extreme. It seems okay, but the ingredients, they've copied NLS anyway. But yeah,
the deeper I dug to extreme, the less interested I was.
A lot of that is marketing, when you look at it.
It's huge. It's huge marketing.
But the hard part is with it is
smart with it too.
There's no actual good. I mean, Repashi's, in my opinion, Repashi's one of the best foods you can buy in terms of fillers and quality. But yeah. Yeah,
extreme with the X, not the EX. Yeah. I didn't think the ingredients list on extreme was all that fantastic, and I, for the record, don't think there is one particular food range that is better than another. But almost every single one, almost every single company has a really good standout product, I think, for particular things, and others that aren't as good. Like using Sarah Insect, I think, is easily the best crumble/pellet food available on the New Zealand market without any question in mind. But then I've looked at some of their other products that they have, and I think it's incredibly questionable. I go, what is this junk? And then
why would I feed my fish cereals? Like I feed my kid cereals for breakfast. Why would I feed my fish that?
And milk powders and stuff like that. And then there's other ones that have, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, that have got incredibly good range that feed particularly this variety of fish, and then something else in their line is just absolute garbage. So I think it's worth just opening your eyes, paying attention, and seeing what's available for everything, and not being so restricted on this is one that does everything for one.
But what I do like as well with food and the advances in it is that they're actually getting a little bit creative and actually giving people like people emotionally want to give their fish some treats or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, that timed perfectly well.
Yeah. And again, it hasn't really changed the industry, but it's actually quite cool. Like the kids can get the fish a treat or whatever, and you feed them something different and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I think that's cool. I don't know if it's changed anything, but he's muted. He's muted and he's talking. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the idea of a treat is a human thing. I don't think fishes need treats.
No, they don't.
We as humans feel like we need treats, which means we need to then treat our fish or our pets. And reality is they don't need treats. I also think
of course you're trying to train an animal, but I don't know if you can train fish, but I don't know if you train them with treats or just food, because that's a natural reward for them anyway, isn't it? Or natural stimulant.
That's why your missus gives you treats.
Yeah, it's
she's trying to train an animal.
Just feed me and tell me what to do, and I'll do it. It's easy, right? A wild animal. Anyway, so what do you guys reckon? What else have we got to talk about? There's heaps of stuff we could talk about, eh? But what's changed the industry? Don't know. What
I'm
about?
not sure if many of this has really changed the industry, improved it, but maybe not changed.
What about we could say the AliExpress and Amazon and eBay and international shipping? You know, we're
I think international shipping in general, the availability of fish and able to, the fact that we can get some of these fish from halfway
fish
around the world.
and even products, but then again, that the products themselves are the things that have changed, not the internet. But in New Zealand, we actually got access to a lot more stuff than we used to. We only used to have what the wholesalers bought in and what was in your local shop down the road. You couldn't go on Trade Me and buy stuff because it didn't exist. So that's growing it as well. But social media is interesting. A lot of it's affiliate links and sponsored, and information's not necessarily right, but if they're getting paid for it, it's all good. Doesn't matter, And
internet as general has done a big thing.
Yeah, good and bad.
Yeah. There's a lot of information that can be passed really freely, and I think the old school mentality of I know this, you don't know this, I'm not going to tell you, work it out yourself, has disappeared because the internet's there and people go, well, this is about what I need to know. Is that correct or not? So I think positively it's worked well there, but then negatively it's 77 people say this and 69 people say this and then 97 people say this, so I'm going to do this and then I'm going to start saying this.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it's hard to weed through and figure out who knows what they're doing and who got lucky and, who has no idea.
Again, comes down to accurate diagnosis and that kind of stuff. Funny, a little bit or very much on this topic, I was at a fish expo 5-6 years ago, whenever it was, and someone I was talking to was saying that the hobby itself was getting dumber, and he believes that part of it is to do with the internet. Back when there was a lot more testing, there was a lot more of a bit of a hobbyist-based scientific approach, recording a lot more and that sort of stuff. Whereas nowadays there seems to be less and less people doing that. So as a general rule, the hobby itself is getting dumber. The amount of people say, "Oh, I don't test my water, I don't do this, blah blah blah." Well, how do you know where things are moving and the correlation of this has done this and this has caused that and all that kind of stuff? So there seems to be less and less scientific fish keeping per se.
I don't think that the scientificness of it is important, but the understanding is. You see so many people posting up their cycling test results and asking what to do, so that they're on the right track with trying to cycle their aquarium, but they don't understand cycling, which is the first thing you should understand before you even test it, because the results are obvious if you understood cycling, what they should do. You know what I mean? So it's very, very basic, that sort of stuff. So I don't believe you need to test and stuff, but you do need to observe and know what your fish is supposed to look like. That's what I do. And instead of testing, I observe, and I know if something's gone wrong because the fish look different or something's off in the tank. You can smell it, you can see it. You just get to know it. But it's interesting that when you see that, and that's why I say to people, cycling is crucially important. Don't ever skip it, but the key is to understand it first and put some steps in place to make sure you've got a cycle, whatever that is. If you want to do the fishless cycle, sweet, do it. I think it's stupid, but it works. However you want to do it, but you've got to understand it and put something in place.
I think a large part of it as well is that people take the word of workers in. I'm trying to be careful here. I'm
coming for you.
Mainly larger stores. We'll call them larger stores as gospel, and these places, they don't. They have a high turnover of staff. Typically, they're not training their staff when they come onto the floor. And then some crazy things get said. Like I shared with Ryan, I overheard it at one place, we'll say, a customer being told that it's absolutely fine to keep African and American cichlids together, no issues at all.
And that's because of the whole cichlids they can be kept together thing, and that is better than keeping African cichlids with neon tetras. It is better than that, and it is a step in the right direction. But I mean, how do you I've always said that to people. Like, I've kept African cichlids for a long time. I only keep African cichlids. I know a shitload about African cichlids. I've also bred pistos and all sorts of other stuff that I know a lot about. But that's out of a passion and a hobby. Like, these guys, a lot of them are younger retail workers. They might like fish. They might have had a couple of tanks, but they're not, they're not passionate about it, and they don't have the experience. And there probably isn't the margins for them to pay someone with a shitload of experience, 150 grand a year, to be the African cichlid expert in the shop.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people that know most about fish don't actually work in fish.
Yeah, and they've got to fund their hobby somehow.
Yeah. And
But
I've seen
the advice that people are giving.
I end up being a fly on the wall in pet shops quite often, and just chill out and see what's being said, and it's terrible, the stuff that's being said. They see the retail worker and someone's buying a tank and they've got like 10 bottles of crap in the tank, and I'm like, oh my god, you got to buy this one every week and put this one in every second day, and this one here and this one here and this one here, and then clown loaches going into 2-foot tanks by themselves and all that sort of stuff. You see it all the time. You're like, yeah, but it's the game. And then if you say anything against them, why would you say something against XYZ store, the biggest in New Zealand?
Are you throwing stones? Are you throwing stones again?
No.
You were doing really well right until that last little bit.
That could be, but that could be there could be a number of stores. It could be a big chain store. It could be other chain stores. It could be one shop. It could be a few places that people would regard that. But yeah, people in a retail environment. And that's also not to say that not everyone in a pet shop knows what they're doing. Don't know what they're doing, sorry. Because there are people in shops that know a lot about what they're doing. So, I'm I'm definitely not shitting on every single shop and every single person in every single shop. It's just hard to it's the reality of retail, the reality of fish, right?
As a person in a shop, I feel like you've just shat all over me.
I'm glad Ryan took that down the rabbit hole and not me.
Well, it's the reality of retail. Like, even if you want to go into Noel Leemings and buy a fridge, you might talk to the one guy there that knows everything about fridges, or you might talk to the one guy there that knows everything about ovens. Like, you're never going to get the best of everything. They'll sell you something, but they may not know everything about fridges. And it's just what it is. So yeah,
marketing.
I just want to give Rebecca a bit of a shameless plug. If you are looking for a decent website that bridges science and hobbyist-based information, Rebecca's website, The Scientific Fish Keeper, is really good. You probably won't like it, Ryan, because it's more related to plecos. Well, there's a lot of pleco stuff on it, but it is really, really good.
Yeah, as long as it's talking about fishy stuff, I'll probably like it. I'll look.
Yeah, it's well and truly worth checking it out.
Maybe you should send Ryan some of your Starlight plecos that you were talking about.
I actually really like Starlight plecos, to be honest. I've often considered getting them. I do like them. I think they're cool. I actually think they're cool.
It's the beginning. We'll get you hooked with one, and then we'll go from there.
No freaking cichlid stuff yet. Well, you can aspire to be that good, Rebecca, but one day you'll get there. One day you'll see the light, and you'll get there.
Hold on. Just because we're on this bit of a topic, what is your opinion on the website that I've totally forgotten, which means I'm looking like a real knob now? The one that you talk about all the time, Ryan. The one that you love that made you put your tinfoil hat on all the time. Oh crap! What is it? Aquarium Science.
Oh yeah, that one's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, what's your opinion on that? And also, I'd love to know what Rebecca's opinion is on that one as well. I may or may not be starting a riot here.
Oh, that's a topic for another day. I think it's a topic for another day. Yeah. Again,
Aquarium Science. Love it.
Yeah.
That particular website's got a fairly large following here in New Zealand.
There's a lot of information out there. You've got to figure out, pick and choose. But that one in particular, it does cause some problems. But to me, I've been through and actually read through a lot of the papers that it refers to, and a lot of them are actually legit. So, but anyway, depends how far you want to deep.
What's your definition of legit? He said it is the truth, so it's the truth. I thought you had a tinfoil hat pretty firmly sewn onto your head, man.
Anyway,
until it comes to this website, you're all about it.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's all good. Let's. Any more technology we want to talk about? I feel like we've dragged on for long enough now.
I'm pretty much okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cam's just turning into a pesky mood.
Pesky. All right. What is next week's episode? I haven't checked the schedule.
Oh man!
Okay.
Man! I can tell you in a couple of seconds. I can tell you, and we'll just fluff about for a little bit, and we'll just pretend like we're really talking about something, and then I can just quickly open some windows, and we'll just continue to chat along. We'll go from there. And so next week episode, we're talking about what do non-fish people need to know about aquariums. Did you like that segue?
Awesome. Done. Easy.
Well, that was a quick podcast.
Cool. Yeah. Well,
I'm in the middle of doing 3 things at once. What are you looking at me for like that?
Cool. Anyway, well, thanks for listening. And we went down some rabbit holes and did some crazy stuff. I don't know if we actually really talked about any technology stuff, or inventions. But hey, that's all good.
Just for the record, tape is more effective with tinfoil hats than sewing, Ryan. It'll also probably stick to your baldness a little bit easier as well.
Mm.
The last time I made one, I did make it with aluminium tape. And I wore it with suspenders and a shirt to the Stardome when we went there for a function. Went there as like a Sheldon type gig. That was quite funny. But anyway, we need to get some listener mail. We need to get that section needs to be filled out. So send us something, some abuse, some Ashley and Martin referrals, even discount coupons for Ashley and Martin, whatever, 2 of us need it now. All right. See you guys later. And we look forward to telling you all about all you fish keepers about what non-fish keepers should want to hear about aquariums.
Very good. Okay. Cool. All right. I'll turn it off now. All right, guys. Have a good one. See you.
Bye.